right, so my name is Esly Caldwell, and thank you all for joining us tonight. I am an acupuncturist with Caldwell Family Wellness, and we've been helping folks restore their health naturally without drugs and without surgery for about 12 years now. And we're based in Cincinnati, Ohio. And so I'm going to try to get this view sorted out. So please make sure your microphone is turned off. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, and so today we're going to talk about the immune system, and in particular, ways that we can individually help to boost our immune system. So we have, obviously, we're in the midst of this COVID pandemic right now, and so I'm just going to make sure that he's muted here. So social distancing is great. Wearing masks is great. Vaccines are great. But what else can we do? What can we do on our own to keep our immune system as strong as possible so that we don't get sick, whether it's from COVID or whether it's from cold or flu, whether it's anything. So we're going to talk about that today. And what I'm going to do now is share my screen here. And let's get this thing going. So if you have questions, please save them for the end of the presentation, and we'll address them then. We should have time at the end for questions. If the sound cuts out or anything, some of you have my number. Just send me a Facebook message or something and let me know, and we will get things restored. So first things first, unless I am your healthcare provider, then this is for information purposes only. Okay, so please consult with your physician, your acupuncturist, your chiropractor, your MD, whatever, before you start any kind of new wellness regimen. So what are the functions of the immune system? What does the immune system do for us? There are three basic functions: protection, neutralizing, and eliminating. Okay, so our immune system protects us from microbes. Microbes are bacteria, virus, and fungi. Okay, those are the things that are coming at us that our immune system protects us from. Our immune system also helps to neutralize those microbes and also toxins that we encounter, whether it's on our skin or coming in our mouth or coming in through our nasal passages. And a third function, a very important and undervalued function of the immune system, is elimination of disease cells. Okay, taking out the trash, so to speak, within the body. So there are a couple basic types or aspects of immunity. Okay, there's the innate or non-specific immune system, and then there's the adaptive or specific immune system. Briefly, what those are. So when we're saying non-specific or innate, that's our first line of defense. This is our general defense. These are immune cells that attack foreign substances that enter the body.
I guess your camera's not on.
1 second here. We got a little bit of background noise. Let me see about this. Okay, if your microphone is not muted, please mute it so we don't hear the background noise. Thank you. Non-specific innate immunity, immune cells attacking foreign things that enter into the body. Okay. Now the adaptive or specific immune system is what we think of when we think of vaccines. Okay. These are antibodies that are made to fight a specific germ that enters our body. So we can, this part of the immune system works in two ways. So every germ that we've ever encountered in our life, and to some extent in our parents' lives and our mother's life, because there's a transfer of some of that adaptive immunity, those antibodies are present and they have a long-term memory. They're going to remember any germ that they've ever encountered. And then when that germ comes back into the body, they are going to right away provoke an immune response and attack that germ and help protect us in that way. this is a learned immune response. Vaccine is a similar thing. The vaccine takes a part of a virus and puts it in our body, and it provokes the immune system to produce antibodies. So the next time you meet that germ, the real germ, your body can fight it better. So there are also some general perspectives on immunity. Okay, the Western medicine model is what we call germ theory. And that question, the question they're trying to answer is, how do we manage our interactions with germs? So examples, vaccination, social distancing, masks, hand washing, these are all ways that we manage our interaction with germs. These are ways, that external ways that we can try to protect ourselves, to kill off to kill off germs. Now, the holistic view of immunity is focusing on the terrain. Okay, what is our internal environment, our internal milieu that is going to be either a sort of good receptacle, a good receiving place for germs to come and live and grow, or is going to repel germs on its own. Okay, and so the questions we ask from the holistic standpoint are, what can we do to stay healthy? How do we strengthen our own internal defenses to ward off illness? Now, the allopathic Western medicine view and the holistic view are not mutually exclusive. They can go hand in hand. Okay, they work together, and they often do. It's just that the foundational sort of premise and question that they're asking are different. So, holistic view of immunity, how can we make our immune system strong enough, like in this picture, to fight and have a barrier to keep germs away? And it's all about personal responsibility, self-reliance. And again, wearing masks is great. Social distancing, hand washing, vaccines, these things are all great and wonderful. But the holistic perspective is, what can we do on our own? It's self-reliance, personal responsibility for our choices, because the choices that we make every day affect our health, short-term and long-term. What we eat, how we live, has a powerful effect on our immune system, on our body's ability to protect us from germs and illness. And there is more and more research showing that our very DNA, okay, the fundamental principle of us as human beings, our chromosomes, our DNA, can be changed by our choices. So what we do matters every day. So the first aspect of life that is really incredibly important for our immune health is sleep. There's been a lot of research on sleep deprivation, and what sleep deprivation does to our body is that it weakens our immune system. Okay, increases inflammation, and it weakens the immune system. Well, how do we determine if we're getting enough sleep? I would say that the answer to that question is based upon, how do you feel in the morning when you wake up? If you're feeling groggy, if you're reaching for the alarm clock or the snooze button, if you have a hard time getting out of bed, you're not getting adequate sleep. If you wake up feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, ready to go, that's an indication that you're getting enough sleep. Most Americans are sleep deprived. We're not getting enough sleep. 7 to 8 hours may not be enough. But again, the measure is, how do you feel when you get up in the morning? And even the notion of 8 hours of sleep is kind of arbitrary. That, you know, we kind of transitioned from you know, back in the days in factories when not people working 16, 20 hours a day. When we got labor unions and laws and whatnot passed, they changed and they kind of said, okay, well, 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep. And that was still kind of arbitrary. That wasn't based on any kind of science, any kind of understanding of how much sleep people actually need. So getting adequate rest is fundamental for the health of your immune system and your ability to fight off disease. Exercise is important. 30 minutes a day is really all you need for an immune boosting aspect of exercise. Research has shown 30 minutes a day can decrease both the incidence, so the chances of getting sick, and also the severity of illness if you do get sick. Now, exercise can be a double-edged sword. Overtraining has the opposite effect. and I'm not saying that 30 minutes is that boundary, but if you feel more fatigued after you exercise, if you need to sleep after you exercise, if you feel wiped out, you probably are overtraining. And if you're overtraining, that has the opposite effect. So there's this phenomenon that is nicknamed the Marathon Sniffles, where marathon runners tend to get sick around the time of marathon running and training and heavy endurance exercise because it weakens their immune system. And so it is important to have a balance. Okay, exercise is medicine to a certain extent. So diet is also incredibly important for our immune system. And when it comes to diet, we have what I call heroes that help our body to be healthier and have a stronger and more resilient immune system. And then we have villains that have the opposite effect. And you can probably guess to some extent what many of those heroes and villains are. And we're going to go through and discuss that now. So foods to eat. Now, organic, everyone's talking about organic. I do try to eat organic as much as possible, and I do recommend eating organic as much as possible. That said, we're coming into harvest time, and we're going to start having more fresh produce available, at least here in Ohio and probably around the country. And not all fresh produce at a farmer's market and whatnot is going to be organic. Okay. That said, you have an opportunity at those places to speak to farmers and find out what sort of practices they use. Many of them are going to be using no pesticides. They're going to be using crop rotation that doesn't deplete the soil, and so the soil still contains abundant nutrients that come into the food. They're going to be using sort of sustainable practices of agriculture. And so in those cases, even if it's not officially organic, it's still going to be something that is healthy and beneficial to eat. So keep that in mind. Farmers markets are a great place to find both affordable produce and also high quality produce. But it's all about talking and having that conversation with folks there to see where this stuff is coming from. When we say whole foods, we don't necessarily mean the store. The store is great. That said, when we say whole foods, we mean minimally processed or not processed at all. Meaning essentially that if you read the label, you got a box and it's some kind of packaged food. If you're reading the label and there's like more than 5-10 ingredients on there, and you're reading things like tricalcium phosphate or things that sound like they came out of a chemistry class, if it doesn't sound like food, it's not food. Okay, those things may not be things that you want to eat. They may not be things that are actually going to benefit you. A lot of times the preservatives and things that additives that are in food are more to benefit the company manufacturing the food to preserve shelf life, as opposed to actually being something of value to your health. So reading labels is an important consideration. If you eat meat, if you eat eggs, try to get free range or organic meat. Again, talking to farmers, many farmers markets, you can get eggs and meat there. You can talk to them and see what sort of practices they used. The opportunity to meet farmers and talk to them and be sort of closer to the production of food can be very valuable. Eating seasonally can also be valuable. So, eating food when it's coming out at that time and that season can be something else that can be very good for your health. So the villains, again, these are obvious. I think everybody here probably knows who the villains are. That said, especially during cold and flu season or during a global pandemic, it might be helpful to minimize these foods. Now, dairy is one that's on here. If you like to eat dairy, it's a whole other kind of conversation. Dairy is a food that tends to produce phlegm. So that's why I have it on the list. So if you tend to get sick a lot and you have a lot of phlegm and congestion and sinuses draining and whatnot, dairy might contribute to that. So that's why I suggest maybe cutting back on the dairy. Most processed foods that come from a box, especially the type that have, those ingredients that I mentioned that sound like they come from a chemistry class, those are things that may not be beneficial for your immune system. And then we talk about the typical sorts of junk food. simple sugars, chips, crackers, white bread, high fructose corn syrup. These are all things that are going to have potentially a negative effect on your immune system. And also, I put soda, but here we usually say pop in Cincinnati, but soda pop can have a negative effect. Alcohol, gluten, and all these things. What it sort of boils down to is that these are foods that tend to be inflammatory. Okay, inflammation in the body is, from more and more evidence, showing to be a prime cause of age-related, declines in health and degenerations, and also, arthritis and heart disease, cancer, and also weakened immune function. And so everything that we can do from our diet and our lifestyle to reduce the inflammatory burden on our body, on our cells, is something that is beneficial. And so these suggestions are kind of sort of geared for that inflammatory response. So this is a quote from a relatively famous writer named Michael Pollan. He said, "If it came from a plant, eat it. If it was made in a plant, don't eat it." And I thought that was kind of a cute quote, and it kind of sort of summarizes some of the philosophy of diet that we're suggesting today. And so basically, an anti-inflammatory diet, again, it's going to have a immune boosting effect and also reducing inflammation in your body entirely, which again, arthritis, heart disease, cancer, different things your body is more at risk for, and lowering inflammation is very, very helpful and beneficial. So some of the components of an anti-inflammatory diet are that it's going to be colorful. Okay, red food, purple, blue. There are a lot more purple potatoes available now. So not just a white potato, not just an orange potato, but a purple potato, the purple color, the blue color, and blueberries or blackberries. Purple and blue, they have a very powerful antioxidant in them called anthocyanins, and that is really, really beneficial for reducing inflammation in the body. Red has a similar sort of effect with the beta carotene. Vitamin A also has an anti-inflammatory effect. Anti-inflammatory diet is going to be having variety. Okay, so trying to avoid eating the same thing every single day. If you can, make variety. If you're eating the same thing every day, try to mix it up. The anti-inflammatory diet will also be fresh. Okay, ideally fresh. Frozen is okay, but fresh is better, especially, again, we're getting into this season of more fresh produce available. Fresh food is highly recommended. And then again, whole foods, minimally processed. So stress weakens the immunity. And if you remember this movie Home Alone, he was pretty stressed out. And so as we age, we are more susceptible to the immune weakening aspects of stress. So doing everything that we can to lower stress is going to be helpful. Obviously, right now we're in the midst of this pandemic still, maybe hopefully on the tail end of it. And it certainly for many people has been a very stressful time. I would say that stress is heightened because we are human beings around the world are all connected. And we have this phenomenon right now where billions of people around the world are all stressed at the same time about the same thing. And that is really unique in human history. And so because, we're all connected, and there's a heightened stress just from everybody else being stressed. And so keeping that in mind, I think when I recognize that sometimes what I'm feeling is being felt by other people, it helps me feel better and helps me get a better grasp on it. So it can be important to keep that aspect in mind. Mental health is also linked with immunity, and certainly stress and stress reduction is a part of our mental health. Anxiety, depression, and loneliness, these are all types of stress that have certainly been amplified during this pandemic and the isolation and shutdowns and whatnot. These are all things that can weaken our immune system. Okay, so mental health is a very, very important component here. So what can we do to help boost our mental health? Well, time in nature. In Japan, they have this this term called shirin-yoku, which sort of loosely translates as forest bathing, and they've been studying it for a while. And what they found that 2 hours a week, cumulative in a week, 2 hours outdoors, can significantly boost our sense of well-being and happiness. And they found that some of our most common immune cells become more active after forest bathing. And so it's not 2 hours a day. It's just within 7 days trying to spend 2 hours outside. So if you have a dog, walk your dog. If you don't have a dog, just go outside and walk. If you can't walk, just sit outside somewhere on a bench and just be outside and take some deep breaths and experience the outdoors. It can have a positive effect on your health. Being, especially when we say outdoors, you don't just necessarily mean outside of your house, but where there are trees and you have the benefit of the ions being produced by the trees, and sort of being in a park where there's more green space. That's kind of what we mean by forest bathing. So some mental health suggestions. The whole sort of field of mind-body therapy we recommend, and this is everything from mindfulness, meditation, yoga, prayer, exercise, Tai Chi, Qigong. These are all things that can help our mental health. And so having a daily practice, having a sort of discipline where 10, 15 minutes a day that we're engaging in these activities can help to improve our mental health, which can help to improve our immune system. And then if you're struggling with depression or anxiety, get help. There are a lot of great resources out there, and especially with this Zoom platform, you can have some degree of interaction with the therapist or counselor that can help you to get through if you have any kind of difficulty. So please get help if you need it. So another aspect of lifestyle that we can do to help boost our immune system is intermittent fasting. And this helps increase our resilience and disease resistance in order to boost our immune system. And intermittent fasting can help also with emotional well-being and mental health. So what is intermittent fasting? A lot of times when folks think about fasting, I think they have to go all day without eating. There are benefits to doing longer fasts, but we're talking about intermittently, which means basically the kind of general rule for this is you're basically fasting for 16 hours a day. You can still eat for 8 hours. So on this picture here, basically from 8 p.m. until noon the next day, you don't eat. Okay, that's 16 hours. So that is an amount of time which can give you some of the similar benefits that you can get from a longer fast. So it's kind of a way for folks that have tried longer fasting or heard about longer fasting in church or things like that for health. Or right now, actually, today is the first day of Ramadan. So Muslim folks are fasting from sun up to sundown. There's a lot of benefit to longer fasting, and you can get much of that benefit in a shorter period of time. That's not to say it's not beneficial to do longer ones if you feel so inclined. So again, before noon, you're just having liquids, minimal calories, less than 50 calories. If you have more than 50 calories, it is likely to stop the benefits of fasting. So I prefer just straight water, tea, things like that. But if you drink coffee, you can have coffee. But before noon, and then noon to 8, you eat. And then after 8, again, back to liquids, minimal calories. You don't have to jump right into 16 hours. You can start with the smaller ratio. You can do 10 hours or whatever works for you, and then try to work your way up. But once you get to 16 hours, the benefit really increases. You don't have to do it every day. 3 to 5 days is sufficient to get many of the benefits from intermittent fasting. And before we get into the immune aspect, just to emphasize, intermittent fasting can help reduce blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol. It can help mental health, but blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, those are 3 big deals for a lot of people that this one lifestyle change can help to mitigate and bring back into a normal range. And so It really, really is important. If you haven't heard about it, look into it, research it. There's a lot of research coming out that's talking about the benefits and explaining how it works in your body. And one of the ways that it works is this process called autophagy. Okay, it looks like autophagy, but it's actually, I believe, pronounced autophagy. So this is a process. It literally means self-eating or cell eating. And it's fascinating. It's an innate self-healing process in your body. It's basically how your body takes out the trash and how it recycles. Okay, so every week we do it for our home. Take your trash out and you're recycling. Your body is doing it all day long. And this process of autophagy is increased from fasting. So it is basically giving yourself a break, and your cells are able to repair themselves. They're able to recycle damaged parts. And when they remove those damaged cells, there's a sort of regeneration that happens where newer, healthier, fresher cells can come into being and take the role of those cells that were removed. When it comes to the immune system, autophagy is a process that actually starves out the infection. And so many of the most common germs that invade our body, they need a fuel source, and oftentimes that's glucose. And when you're not putting more glucose in, your own cells are going to starve the germs by eating up all that glucose. Autophagy helps to reduce inflammation, which, as we said earlier, is an important part of the immune system, reducing inflammation. So your system can work faster and more efficiently. And then also it helps repair damage from infection. So when you get sick, fasting helps to reduce the damage from that infection and also from the subsequent inflammation caused by infection. So one of the things that, if you've been following some of the stuff with COVID-19, the cytokine storm is one of the sort of major inflammatory bursts that happens in some folks that get COVID and have severe reactions. And so this is a way that can help potentially to mitigate some of that inflammatory damage that happens from infection. Obviously, COVID, that the cytokine storm is kind of a very severe example. That said, just getting a cold, getting a flu, non-COVID sort of illness can also create a lot of inflammation in the body. And so this is a way to remove and reduce that. So it helps trigger an innate adaptive response. Okay, so your body becomes more resilient and able to adapt to the stress of just life and existence, and at a cellular level. And that in and of itself, that adaptive response, adaptive boost, helps to strengthen the immune system. Autophagy also helps, and they're finding that there's some ways that it helps your body's immune system to actually identify and neutralize viruses more easily. This is why, for me personally, if ever I feel like I'm getting sick, the first thing I'm gonna do is stop eating. I'm gonna stop eating for a little while, do some intermittent fasting, because I've found it personally that can help. Is one of the tools that I use to not actually allow myself to get a full-on illness. So it's kind of like if you imagine taking a highlighter and highlighting the viruses, so your body's immune system can see them, track them easier, and then go out, neutralize, and remove them. And then some of the important immune cells, like your macrophages and your NK, your natural killer cells, these are also strengthened by this process. So this is really, it's a remarkable thing. It's about your body's sort of natural healing strategy, and it works very, very well for boosting the immune system. One benefit of intermittent fasting that I didn't mention earlier, but it's sort of obvious. The only guaranteed way in the world to lose weight is what? Not eating, right? So fasting is always going to help with weight loss. And so you don't have to fast for days and days. Doing intermittent fasting 3 to 5 days a week, there can be some weight loss benefit that happens with that. There are other ratios that are a little shorter than the 16, I'm sorry, longer than 16-hour fast that have heightened weight loss abilities. That's a whole other conversation. That said, even this process that we're talking 3 to 5 days a week, 16-hour fast, there is weight loss benefit that can happen for many folks. So another big part of boosting the immune system naturally is through vitamin D. Now, vitamin D is also called the sunshine vitamin because our skin can make vitamin D when the sunlight is on it. Having said that, it is difficult to get enough vitamin D from the sun or from our diet. And low levels of vitamin D are associated with a number of health conditions, including heart disease, some cancers, mental health illness like depression, and a weakened immune system. And unfortunately, the vast majority of Americans and probably people around the world have low vitamin D levels, okay? 43% of Americans are deficient, but only 23% actually have a sufficient level. So of that first number, that 43%, many of those folks are not actually getting enough. And so basically a quarter of Americans have sufficient D levels. So this is a crisis. And especially, well, here's some stats. For Black and Hispanic Americans, the prevalence of vitamin D insufficiency is even higher. So it is really, really essential for all of us to get more vitamin D. So vitamin D helps our body fight infection. It enhances our immune defenses, and it helps to bolster the resilience of our organs and tissues. It can help us to not get sick at all. So, okay, so we can reduce the incidence of illness and also reduce the severity if you do get sick. And it's an important component of both the adaptive and the innate immune systems. So the T cells that attack antigens on known viruses, we need vitamin D to help them mobilize an immune response. So I would also suggest that for folks that have gotten the vaccine is great. That said, vitamin D may help the vaccine work better. Getting that D level up higher may help your body to identify. So the vaccine is giving you your body information about COVID-19, so that if you do encounter it, you can mount an immune response to ward off and keep from getting sick from COVID. It's possible that vitamin D can help to enhance that immune response. So it's really, really important to get it up. And then with COVID-19, what they've been finding in the last year of looking at vitamin D levels in COVID is that overall lower D means that we are more likely to get viral infections, any kind of virus, cold, flu, whatever, and COVID. Okay. And so low D equals greater chance to get sick from a virus, including COVID. Higher levels of D equals a lesser chance of getting COVID-19. So vitamin D is important. So important. Honestly, I'm shocked that we have, Fauci has mentioned it a little bit, but I would have hoped that at the outset, as soon as it became so obvious that something as safe, as cheap, as accessible as vitamin D could help potentially save lives, that they were screaming it from the mountaintops: social distancing, wear a mask, wash your hands, and get your vitamin D levels up. The 4 pillars. I wish we had 4, we only heard 3. So anyway, you're hearing it now. I'm not the only one saying this. Vitamin D is really, really important for your health in so many ways. You're more likely, if you get COVID-19, more likely to have a worse outcome if your D level is low. So another reason why you gotta get that D level up. So, and it's important to get your level tested. Okay, this is something you can go to your primary care doc and you can order, whatever kind of blood test they order for you. Get that D level checked so you know. If your level is low, then you can take more. If your level is adequate, you can take less. But most people can safely supplement up to 5,000 IUs of D per day. Okay. I recommend taking D with K. It can help metabolize it a little bit better. So K2 along with D, vitamin D3 and not D2. Okay, so what you see when you're looking at milk, and they again, it's dairy, yes, but some folks drink milk, it's okay. But when they have many dairy products are fortified with vitamin D. That's D2. D2 may not convert as well to D3, which is what your body actually needs. So I wouldn't count the milk, the vitamin D that's listed on the label of a milk carton as necessarily being a type of vitamin D your body can actually utilize. There is many folks out there, many docs out there will recommend taking a mega dose of vitamin D once a week. If that's what you're taking or you've heard of that and you want to try it, fine, by all means, try it. I know several people who have taken the mega dose and their D level has not gone up at all. But if they take a daily dose of 5,000 or even a little bit more, their D level goes up gradually until it gets back into the normal range. So just something to keep in mind, there are different strategies. Sometimes it's a mega dose once a week. Personally, what I found beneficial for my patients is taking 5,000 a day. So another important aspect of the immune system is our microbiome. These are the billions or trillions of beneficial bacteria that live in and on us. And so they are a layer of protection against infection. And so they basically are, they're very territorial. This is one way of looking at it. They're very territorial. They don't like to share space. And so if the microbiome is healthy, if the beneficial bacteria in and on your body are healthy, they're not going to allow other bacteria or viruses or fungi to get in your system and take up residence there. They're going to be a layer of protection to push them away. And so it's really, really important to get the microbiome functioning as optimally as possible. And unfortunately, one of the things with germ theory is that there's been sort of a war on germs indiscriminately. And not all bacteria that exist are enemies. Many of them are friends. And so if you take a lot of antibiotics in your life, you've done damage to your microbiome that can affect your immune system. And so it can be really, really important to replenish, restore, and balance your microbiome through taking, in some cases, taking probiotic supplements. There are some great ones out there. If you're taking a probiotic, and really this is just a general rule that I suggest with any supplement, is don't necessarily go for the cheapest one out there, okay? You get what you pay for. And I'm not saying you have to buy the most expensive, but discount vitamins and probiotics and things, you may not be getting what you thought you were getting. You may not be getting an effective dose, a therapeutic dose, and the quality really, really matters. So keep that in mind. So probiotics, you can take a supplement. If you do, it may be helpful after every couple of months to rotate and try a different one, so you get kind of a broad spectrum of beneficial bacteria coming into your system. And food can also be a really excellent way of getting probiotics. Now, a lot of folks think of yogurt. Yogurt is one example. It is a fermented food. I think it may not be the best option. Kefir is another fermented dairy. It's a drink. A lot of folks like that. Kefir can be another alternative to yogurt. Other sources, sauerkraut can be excellent. And really for all of the probiotic foods, you want to make sure you're getting foods that are, because we're talking about bacteria, you want it to be raw and unpasteurized. Okay, when you pasteurize a fermented food, you kill off the bacteria. And the bacteria in the food is going to kill off other germs. So you don't really need to pasteurize it in the first place. So sauerkraut should definitely be unpasteurized to get the probiotic benefit. There is a local company, for those of you who are here in Ohio, called Fabulous Ferments, Fab Ferments, and they're based, I think, in Laughlin. A couple young folks, and they make their own kraut and kombucha and other fermented foods, and they taste great. So if you heard me say sauerkraut and you rolled your eyes or you felt like, oh, I can't eat that, you got to try what these folks are making, because it tastes really good, even for folks that aren't used to eating it. If you're in other parts of the country, there are other small companies out there now that are making more fermented foods. So try those. So kind of, different sorts of craft companies making, small batches of kraut and other things. Kimchi is a fermented kind of spicy sort of sauerkraut, which can also be great. And then kombucha is also growing in popularity. It's a fermented tea. The big consideration with kombucha is the sugar content. So just keep an eye on that. For some people, kombucha can actually make some of their microbes in their body, like candida, yeast, fungi. It can get a little bit worse. So see how you feel when you drink it. For the vast majority of people, kombucha is fine, but maybe, if you have a bottle, just drink half a bottle a day. Don't go overboard. So those are some fermented foods that can be really, really helpful to help boost your immune system by balancing out the gut flora. Another fermented food, which is pretty accessible, I know a lot of folks are taking this now, is apple cider vinegar. You don't drink it straight, but you mix it in water, a teaspoon or a tablespoon. It's alkaline, so it helps to balance the alkaline acid balance in your body. It is a probiotic fermented food, and it may have some actual antibacterial effects. So this is something that I drink most days, just in a bottle of water, and sip on it all day. That's one way to do it. Again, don't take it straight, but it's something that can be helpful for boosting the immune system. Now, I'm an acupuncturist, so I will say that acupuncture does help with the immune system. So boosting red, white, and T cell counts. So actually having an effect on these blood cells has been demonstrated with acupuncture. Interferon is an important messenger hormone for your immune system. Acupuncture can help raise interferon levels. And then prior to COVID, I would see folks when they were sick to help shorten the duration of illness through acupuncture or through herbs. Since COVID, if you're sick, please stay home. That said, maybe in the future we can start treating folks while they're ill under certain conditions. And so it can be a good treatment for sinus congestion, cough, fatigue, and other cold and flu symptoms. So one of the other things I wanted to cover are what I would consider some of the top 5 immune boosting supplements. Now, we already spoke about vitamin D. Vitamin D is essential. Every person in this country should get their vitamin D level tested, and if it's low, take more. So another supplement that I think is very helpful for immune system is called Monolaurin. It is derived from coconut oil, and it has, for all microbes we mentioned earlier, bacteria, virus, and fungi, Monolaurin can help to reduce them in the body. So it can help to deactivate viruses, and also useful for clearing up candida. So if you have candida, if you're working on getting that out of your system, Monolaurin can be an important component of a candida eradication program. And it's helpful for common viral issues like the cold, the flu, shingles, and herpes symptoms, particularly kind of the herpes simplex sores around the mouth. So Monolaurin you can get off of Amazon. There's a company called was a product called Loracidin. I forget the company, but if you search for Loracidin, you can find it. And it comes in pellets, and you just you start off with a small dose, and you gradually increase the amount of pellets you're taking, and it can help boost the immune system. It's great because it has antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal effects without disrupting the gut flora. So it kills the bad stuff, but doesn't mess with the good stuff. Homeopathics are growing in popularity for boosting the immune system. One of the most common ones used around the world is called Oscillococinum, and it's so common now. I've seen it at Walgreens, I've seen it at CVS, but definitely like your Whole Foods and your health food stores, they're going to have Oscillococinum. This is something you take at the first sign of cold or flu symptoms. Once you're full on sick, it's not as effective, but it's helpful when you first start getting that kind of achy feeling and swollen glands in your throat and a little bit worn down. You feel, hey, I'm starting to get sick. That's when you take this. Cold Care is another homeopathic kind of combination formula that is good when you actually get cold and flu symptoms to shorten the duration without having the kind of drowsy effect that some of the common cold medicines have. Winter Balance and Winter Tonic are made by a company out of Madison, Wisconsin called Celtec. Many providers carry this. I carry this in my office. Winter Balance is sort of a composite of homeopathic remedies for every winter illness, the most common flus going back for 100 years. They put a composite of that in the Winter Balance. So sort of like, not really a vaccine, but it's sort of like a homeopathic equivalent, it basically helps your body to fight off these germs. The Winter Tonic is a homeopathic combination for the most common cold and flu symptoms. So cough, runny nose, fatigue, fever, those symptoms, the most common remedies for those are combined into Winter Tonic. So that can also be very helpful for boosting the immune system. Zinc is an important enzyme cofactor for a number of systems in our body, including our immune system. Zinc can help to neutralize viruses in our upper respiratory tract. Lozenges are one of the best ways to take zinc. So basically it kind of coats the nasal passages in the mouth and kind of keeps viruses from being able to attach to the cells of our body. So zinc is very powerful, very important for the immune system. And then something else that I like to emphasize, medicinal mushrooms are kind of a growing superfood that can help to boost the immune system. They're a potent source of antioxidants, and they are an adaptogen. They help the body to deal with stress at a cellular level and also at a macro level. And then mushrooms also help to improve our gut health and digestion. So there are a number of benefits there with mushrooms. And we recommend mushroom powders. I mean, if you want to eat them, that's great too. That said, for many folks, the powder is an easier way to get it into your system. You can add it to coffee or tea, or just take it sublingually under your tongue. And there's a great company out there that we like a lot, and we take ourselves and recommend. It's called Nourishing Nutrients. It's on Amazon, but you may have an easier time getting it off of their website. It's a blend of mushrooms and everything from oyster, reishi, shiitake, and it has one of the real benefits with mushrooms that you have a boost to your energy. And so when you take them, you're going to feel a little bit of a boost. So that's an extra sort of benefit with mushrooms. So that is it.
Banana.
So yeah, that's all that we have for today. I hope you found it beneficial. If you have any questions, please let me know. You can feel free to unmute yourself, or you can just type the comment into the chat.
I have a question.
Sure.
First, I just want to say that was so informative. Thank you so much. And I wrote my question down. So I have it straight. And that is, so you mentioned that you stop eating when you get sick, which I think is really interesting. And it reminds me of starve a cold, feed a fever. So I was wondering if you have a different strategy for a fever. And then I wanted to know if you have a different strategy for allergies.
Okay, that's a good question. Different strategy for fever. It has to be on a case-by-case basis. And I'm not saying that if it was a fever, that I would say the same thing. I'm saying that I'll usually tend to stop eating. Well, it's kind of like animals. All right? I got dogs. I know one of my dogs is sick if they're not eating. People are one of the only species of on this planet that will eat when we're sick. Most every other animal out there is not going to eat. And so I look at my dog and I observe what they do, what most animals do. And to me, it's instinctive that at least when I first start feeling sick, I won't eat. Now with the fever, you may need to eat some stuff, so broth and there may be some things that are beneficial to eat for a fever. That said, it's kind of a case-by-case basis. Now, with allergies, there are a number of things you can do. My kind of go-to with allergies, and I treat it with acupuncture, but homeopathics can be helpful. If you want to send me an email, I can give you some recommendations in that regard. Nettles, stinging nettle is a weed that used to be growing when I grew up here in Cincinnati. Used to grow everywhere, and can't find it now. Now that I want to find it, I can't find it, but you can get it online as a tea. And there are some of the best kind of immune supplements tend to have nettle in it. So although if you brush up against it in the woods, it's going to give a little bit of a sting when you eat it, when it's been prepared as a tea or the leaves have been cooked and you eat it, it has a really powerful antihistamine, anti-inflammatory, anti-allergy response. And so nettle is one thing that can be helpful, but there are a whole bunch of supplements and herbs besides nettle that are helpful. So feel free to send me an email and I can share those suggestions with you. Any other questions?
Yes, this is John Gaston. How are you doing?
Doing good, John. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
I was just curious when you were talking about the vitamin D levels, and was it blacks and Latinos?
Yeah, that have the lowest. Yes.
Do they know why that is? Have they done any studies on that?
You know what? That is an excellent question. I don't know the answer. I'm gonna look that up and I'll send you an email if I find anything.
Okay.
They're not sure why. At least I'm not sure why.
Well, after the last time I came to see you, I did get my vitamin D level tested.
Good.
And yeah.
Good. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, it's really important to know that. Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, this is Teresa. I've got some questions. I've got has had some lasting effects from the Epstein-Barr. He had mono several years ago. He's 21 now. I was wondering if you had any suggestions on how to boost his immune system.
Okay. Yeah. So I have Epstein-Barr myself. I had mono when I was about his age, and every year, maybe once or twice a year, it flares up. And so one of the things that I found helpful when I was in my early 20s and I first got mono and was dealing with this incredible fatigue, and I was struggling, and no doctor that I had talked to knew what to do, and just say you got to wait it out. So that was hard to do. I had a job and I had to work and I had a demanding boss that put a lot of pressure on me, and so I had to figure something out. And I found that if I fasted for 24 to 36 hours, then I would have 3 or 4 days where I felt great and normal. So that was one thing. That was a longer fast. Intermittent fasting might help. And there are a couple of supplements that I recommend that I take when Epstein-Barr flares up for me. The first one is X-Viramin, so I carry that in my office. So if you're here in Ohio, I can get that for you. If you're not, I can help you figure out how to get it. But X-Viramin is an immune boosting supplement that's very good for some of those retroviruses that pop up from time to time. So the question, I'm sorry, for those who may not have heard that, the question was about Epstein-Barr virus and what can be done for that. And Epstein-Barr virus is mono, but it's a retrovirus that stays in your system. It's dormant, and it can periodically pop up and make you feel really tired all over again. So usually not as bad as it was when you first had it, but it still can act up again. So yeah, Teresa, if you want to send me an email, I will be happy to talk to you more about it. And
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And let me see. And Jill had a question about allergies. Yeah, Jill, again, send me an email. We can talk about it a little bit more. But there are a few different supplements that can be helpful. One of the good things about allergy supplements versus medication like Claritin or Zyrtec or whatever, Flonase, is that you don't have to take it all year round. And so you just take it while you have symptoms and you can stop taking it. With allergies, if you have, a lot of times folks have, I see this more and more, people have allergies all year round. So it's not just a spring or fall thing, maybe worse than, but they have allergies all year round. And so a couple things, if that is the case for you, you tend to have year-long allergies to some extent. To me, it's unusual. And it's likely that there may be some sort of indoor air pollution in your home. And so if you have a humidifier connected to your furnace, check the filter. Okay. Many people, myself included, didn't look at that, and your filter can get pretty nasty. And there's actually, I did not even know that there was a filter on the humidifier. And so you check it. I checked mine. Just moved to a new house a few months ago and checked the filter recently, and it was full of mold. So thankfully I wasn't using it, but if you have a humidifier on the furnace, change that filter regularly, because mold, indoor mold is one of the biggest sources of indoor air pollution that can make allergies worse when you get them as a seasonal thing and also year round. So that's an important sort of allergy thing. And another thing with year-long allergies, sometimes you may have a kind of sort of a sub clinical kind of minor chronic sinus infection that isn't strong enough to be a full-blown sinus infection, but there still is some infection there. And so there are these nasal sprays, colloidal silver, which they're excellent for a number of things, but colloidal silver can kill off germs that are sort of colonized deep up in there in your nasal passages, and also as a sort of prophylactic treatment for COVID. I did that for a while last year. Nasal colloidal silver every day, just to kill off anything that was up there. So those are two things that can be helpful. And again, send me an email or give me a call, Jill, and we can talk more about that. Okay. Any other questions? All right, folks. Well, thank you for tuning in. I hope this was helpful.